Hello, Matt. Welcome to my music lounge. Let's get started with some of the basics. All right. For the first part, we're just going to go over one of the most basic things that you're ever going to see in music theory, and that is note names. Every note has a name. Every pitch has a name, and we need to memorize this. This is going to be a basic building block for a lot of other things to talk about. So, what are the note names? Note names come with a letter and an accidental. What are the letters? The letters come through A through G. There's A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. Accidentals. There are three of them. There is sharp, there is flat, and there is natural. Okay? Natural just means the absence of either a sharp or a flat. All right? So, what are the note names? Note names in order of pitch. If we start at A, you're going to go A, and then there is a note between A and B. That note name could be A sharp, or it could be B flat. That is either A and sharpened, or B and flattened. Between B and C, there is no note. Between C and D, there is. It's either C sharp or D flat. Between D and E, there's another note. Either D sharp or E flat. Between E and F, there's no note. Between F and G, there is. It's either F sharp or G flat. Between G and A, there's another one. G sharp or A flat. And of course, it goes on afterwards between A and B. Again, there's an A sharp or B flat. And between A down here and the G down here, there is G sharp or A flat. And the list goes on and on. But, so down and not down. So before G, there's going to be F sharp, then F. After B, there's going to be C, because between B and C, there's no note. B and C are consecutive. E and F, there's no note. And it's only B and C, and it's only E and F that are letters that are consecutive. There is no E sharp, there is no F flat in between E and F. There's no B sharp, there's no C flat in between B and C. Otherwise, all the time, between two notes, you always have a note with an accidental. Okay? So if I were going to order the notes by pitch, starting with A, I'd start off with A. And by the way, usually don't get thrown by the fact that these notes here have two names. The A sharp or the B flat. In general, you're going to find that you're going to be using either the sharp names for all the notes or the flat names for all the notes. And you're very rarely going to find times where you mix the two. So, learn sharp notation, learn flat notation, and you'll be set. If you're with a musician and you say, I want to play B flat, and that musician says, actually, that's A sharp, that guy's a bit of a dick. And musicians know what you're talking about. You should be able to communicate effectively using those names. All right. In this case, I'm going to use sharp notation. All right. I'm going to say A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. That's an octave worth of notes there. I'm going to number them. A was number 1. A sharp was number 2. Number 3, number 4, C sharp, number 5, D, number 6, D sharp, number 7, E, number 8, F, number 9, F sharp is number 10, G is number 11, G sharp is number 12. And then we're back to A. I'm just going to number that number 1 again. All right? This is a pattern that you're going to want to memorize, and you're going to want to learn it well. And the reason that you're going to want to do this is a basic building block for a lot of what we're going to be talking about. When we talk about chords later, this is just talking about notes, but when we talk about chords, you'll notice that chords have kind of the same notation that notes do. So there is, for example, a D major chord that we just called D. There's also D sharp major, right? There's also D minor, and there's also D sharp minor. And when we bring up these chord names, eventually you're going to want to know what are all the notes in a chord. What are the notes in D minor? What are the notes? What's the difference between D minor and D? That's something to know. But in order to do that, what we need to do is first get this pattern down so that you always remember. Clearly, a good way to remember that is that this interval between B and C and the interval between E and F are special. That there's always a sharp between notes except here and here. Now you might wonder, why is it that it's only B and C? What's so special about B and C? What's so special about E and F that makes them consecutive letters, consecutive natural note names, whereas all the other ones have a note in between them? And I'm going to answer that question of why, I'm going to introduce a sign. And the sign comes in handy when discussing music theory. Every once in a while, I'm just going to say, tap the sign. And the sign says, because fuck you, that's why. And that's kind of something that you're going to see in music theory. What it means to me is sometimes there isn't really a purpose to it. Sometimes there is, but you have to learn how to talk the talk before you can understand why the language does it that way. And that's the case in this time, which is I think that there is a reason that B and C and E and F are particularly consecutive. And we're going to get into that. Maybe it's just because music was invented by monks 1,500 years ago, and they didn't know that there was a note between F and G, and they discovered it later. Who knows? But when I say tap the sign, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Okay, now in order to help commit this pattern to memory, the sharp notation of all the notes, I've got a little drill that I want to go over with you. Have you practice this? You're going to be practicing, I hope you're practicing like at least 15 minutes a day. What I try to do is practice 15 minutes a day. It's hard to get any time, but I can usually spare about 15 minutes, and I will do some drills. Right now I'm working on arpeggio drills and scale drills, but for you, all I want to do for your drill is spend 1 or 2 minutes of those 15 minutes that you've got working on this. Now I'm going to show you here just a second. Okay, for a drill, what I want to do, I have my acoustic guitar here. What I want to do is learn the note names of all the notes in the first 4 frets of the guitar. This is where you're going to feel most comfortable. All right? You know the names of the notes of each string. The low E is E. You know A, D, G, B, and E. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a note and I'm going to sing its name, and I'm going to do that for all the notes in this range. start out on top. I'm going to start out on the E string. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. Now by the time I get to the 5th fret, you know that this 5th fret is going to be the same as the next string. And that needs to be on A. So if you get up to this fret and you're already, if you said A on the 4th fret, you know that you're wrong. It's G sharp, and you know the next note is going to be A. So I'm just going to play it open. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp. Now here is the weird string where it's on the 4th fret, you're actually going to be playing the B, which is the same as that. If you don't want to play it with your pinky, B, B, that's fine. Also, I dropped my voice down an octave. That's had to happen sooner or later. B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and you're done. That's learning sharp notation. You should be able to get through it pretty quickly. Don't go too fast. You're trying to get your mind to remember all the note names in order. Go nice and slow. See if you can get natural at it. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. All right? Don't worry. Just go through that once as part of your practice routine. If you do that for a week and it's still hard, then we'll just work on that again. If after a week it's easy, you could switch things up and try flat notation. So I'm going to try and do just one string worth of flat notation. See if you can keep up. E, F, G flat, G, A flat. Right? So if the sharp notation is easy and you got it nailed down, moving on to flat notation is for extra credit. All right? Okay, so that's really what I wanted to cover for this time around. It's a really fundamental basic building block. What are the names of the notes? What are the orders of the notes? You get to memorize this pattern, and I think a lot of good things are going to happen, especially when we go over chords and we go over scales. This is going to be really handy. It's going to be... Next time, I think I want to talk a little bit more about notes and how they go together, because certain notes go together better than others. So, thank you. Thank you for joining. That's what I wanted to cover this time, and we can talk to you next week. Incidentally, did you notice the pattern that when I had to write a G sharp, I wrote it a little bit above the G and above the A? Curious. Does that pattern remind you of anything? Well, we'll talk about that next week. All right. Thanks. Bye.